here in scope and for taking our time out. Lyal, I'll start with you, if I may. What do you make of this situation now that ISIS has quote-unquote been defeated? What does one then make of their family members, their children, their wives? It's quite a complex situation, isn't it?
It's complex enough simply because there's not a lot of political will or willingness on the part of countries that from where these, in effect, foreign fighters, ISIS foreign fighters, have come to Syria and Iraq. And often, I mean, the fighters themselves have participated in terrible acts, an outrage to human rights and international humanitarian law and the crimes under international law. The feeling in many of public opinion across many countries is that we don't want to have anything to do with these people or any of their associates. Now, that kind of position goes obviously too far, because some people have gone and gotten married, and there's children. Children are innocent. Although a child is defined as anyone under 18, and there are some who may have joined and participated in war crimes, in which case they should be prosecuted. Yeah. The simple answer really is that people's nationality has to be respected, and that means they have a right to return to their country. And people should not have their nationality stripped away from them. That's a violation of international human rights law, and nobody should be rendered stateless. And as an opening statement, I would just point that out. So it's a question of human rights and humanitarian law.
Indeed, because Lyal, it does seem, from sitting from the outside looking in, it does seem a bit hypocritical, doesn't it? That it was, and I'm gonna pick on the U.S. for a moment here, Lyal, that it was the U.S. that went into Iraq. Under the guise, of course, as we well know, of WMDs, all that, and that's a separate argument altogether. But the fact that it seems like these countries now want to wash their hands clean of this entire mess that they have, at the very least, partly created.
There is that element, but I wanted to return to something interesting that you had mentioned when you posed your first question to me, and that was you said that Shamima Begum had quite likely committed crimes and at least made bad decisions. That was in itself very interesting, and I'll tell you why. Okay. It's because a person is presumed has a right to be presumed innocent till proven guilty. That gets us back to the legal solutions, which are spelt out in international human rights law, international humanitarian law, and international criminal law. So it's not like the international community has not looked at this issue. There are a number of standards that have been developed and legal rules over time, which are designed to deal with this type of situation. So if I may, I would maybe mention a few of those, because I think they could shed light on what is the objective, what are the objective rules out there for the situation. If a person commits a crime, a war crime, that they should be prosecuted for it. I think that's quite obvious. The difficult, some more complications arise where we're talking about juveniles that might be implicated in war crimes. And the issue is that war crimes have to be prosecuted, but it has to be done through a fair process.
Let me just stick with you, Lyal, for a moment, because in fact that question of accountability and justice is an important one, isn't it? There is talk, Lyal, of trials now for ISIS members, or those who are at the very least accused of being members of ISIS. The countries, many of the countries around the world of which these ISIS members are citizens of, will say those trials should take place in Iraq and Syria because that was the venue point of where these criminal acts were carried out. What are your thoughts on that? Should they be going back to their home countries and be tried there, or should they be tried by Iraq and Syria?
There are several grounds for jurisdiction, and that means that several countries could prosecute. Let me just put them in a very succinct fashion. Normally, a country prosecutes a crime when it's committed in the territory, in its territory, and that's territorial jurisdiction. So Syria and Iraq certainly have jurisdiction to prosecute those crimes.
Okay.
The second one is nationality. So if your national commits a crime outside your state, outside the territory of your state, that country also has jurisdiction. So the question is, however, are the Syrian and Iraqi trials going to be fair and independent? Will they be so biased? So that raises a question, because we're talking not just about a trial, but we're talking about fair trial standards that are important in international human rights law and international humanitarian law, international criminal law. And so one has to be very vigilant. Of course, it's easy for us to say, well, they should be prosecuted in Syria and Iraq. There's a lot of advantages for that in terms of getting evidence, in terms of getting witnesses, in terms of prosecuting the case. It can be much more complicated.
Hold on to those thoughts, Lyal. I do appreciate one of you just brought on. We will go into a short break now. To cite two examples, in fact, because it's not like all countries around the world are rejecting their citizens who are either ISIS family members or otherwise. Tajikistan, for example, has said that it is going to take back all children who are its citizens, who may be related to those who are accused of being part of ISIS. Russia also has some sort of a repatriation policy in place, the details of which I don't have exact details of, but it's been praised, in fact, Russia, that is, for putting in place some sort of an organized strategy about trying to repatriate these people back, A, and B, then trying to bring them back into society and rehabilitate them in some way. So it is possible to do that then, isn't it, Lyal? And it just seems like, again, going back to Hamid's point, that it seems like there is some sort of a double standard at play here?
We can talk about double standards, I think, indefinitely. But I would rather stay away from polemics, because then we get into pure political and ideological debate. This is a serious humanitarian issue involving children that are in need of care. But we have to also distinguish, and just to be realistic about this, and that is that, and Peter Morer from the International Committee of the Red Cross has rightfully signaled that there are around 3,000 children in urgent need of humanitarian care. That's not a large number, actually. If you look at the number of women and minors who have been fighting in or have been in ISIS territory and associated with ISIS fighters, it's around 41,000. About 4,600 of those are women, and about 4,500 minors being under the age of 18. Now, one has to distinguish carefully, because if we're talking infants, etc., or anyone under the age of 12 or under the age of 18 who has humanitarian needs, they have to be taken care of. In fact, it's true for adults as well. But that doesn't mean it's not a black and white situation, because there are some cases. Otherwise, we'd be naive not to say this. There are some cases where a person short of 18 years, a day short of 18 years old, or 17 or 16, who's been involved in war crimes, it doesn't mean that just because they're under the age of 18, they have no criminal responsibility. And countries recognize this. The Geneva Convention's Additional Protocol 1 recognizes that 15 and over, a person could be responsible for committing war crimes. And that's the standard also in international human rights law, in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, and an optional protocol on children in armed conflict. So one has to distinguish, and Christiane was very much correct to say that there has to be case-by-case triage, and if there is evidence that a person has been perpetrating war crimes, and they're of a certain age and maturity, then it's possible they should definitely be prosecuted. Countries have states have an obligation, a legal obligation, to prosecute war criminals.